You're listening to the Simple Farmhouse Life podcast. Today I'm going to be talking from Elise. She makes the most beautiful knit and crochet toys. And today we're going to talk about using crafts and hobbies to escape stress. This is a perfect topic for right now. If you've been feeling a little stressed by things going on in the world, this is going to be a really good escape for you. She brings up some amazing points about de-stressing with crafts and hobbies, so let's dive in. My name is Lisa, mom of 6 and creator of the blog and YouTube channel Farmhouse on Boone. Join me as I share with you my love for creating a handmade home from scratch cooking and a little mom and entrepreneur life along the way. I'll be introducing you a little bit in the beginning, but we'll just start at this part by talking a little bit about you and your YouTube channel, your blog, and your patterns, because you sell patterns for all of those things, right?
Well, I give them away. They're free on the blog.
Okay, gotcha. Yeah.
Well, and I'm moving more towards you got to give me your email address and then I'll send you the pattern kind of a deal, you know.
Right.
So, but yeah,
Yeah,
they're
it's
free.
hard to find that balance blogging because, the more value you provide, people are fans and they come but then also, getting their email address is important too. So
oh, yes.
Yeah. So she makes these adorable little, all kinds of things. Oh my goodness. Mostly kids' toys, correct?
Yeah. That's kind of my focus at this point. I still love crocheting and knitting, lots of different things, but I always go back to toy making. That's just what I love.
So have you designed all of these that I'm seeing on your Instagram?
No, most of them I use other patterns, other designers' patterns. Some of them are mine, but I also really enjoy that working on somebody else's pattern and seeing how I can make it my own and sharing that with others. So it's really fun.
Yeah. Oh my goodness. I'm looking at this little teddy bear. This really wasn't on our topic for today, but these would make really good Christmas gifts.
Yeah, last year that's basically what I did for Christmas is I knocked out all of my family, all of my friends, everybody got a knitted toy or a crocheted toy last year. That's what I did. So.
Oh, I would love to get that. I just, we live in a society where we pretty much can all, for the most part, you can go buy a teddy bear for $5.
Right.
We all have what we need for the most part.
Right.
And so something like this, it makes you excited to get something that somebody made with their own 2 hands,
Yeah, and it's something you're giving a piece of yourself.
Yeah.
And, as I'm making these things, and especially if I have somebody in mind, I think of the person and it just brings me so much joy. And I think that really comes across because I want to make every little detail right because I'm giving it to this person who I really care about.
Right.
So, yeah, I think it really is special. It is special.
I struggle at Christmas time because when it comes down to it, I always end up last minute. And then, you end up just going and buying something,
Right.
And,
Oh, yeah.
will they even like this?
Right. Yeah, it's hard.
It is. So, okay, one of the topics that we're going to talk about is how crafting helps deal with stress. I think that's a pretty important topic right now. I mean, everybody's pretty stressed out, no matter.
Yeah. Yeah. I think we all are.
Yeah.
Yeah. I started, my kind of whole journey with crocheting and knitting started back in 2016, at the end of 2016. I have 4 kids and my 2 older girls were in college. And then I had my 2 boys still at home. And we were your average American family in 2016. We were busy. We've always homeschooled. So we were, during the day, we're struggling to get all of our school stuff done. And then afternoons were activities and all of the things that we as homeschoolers get our kids involved in. So, and we were to the max. We were doing everything. And at that point, my sons were 17 and 15. And my 17-year-old son has always had epilepsy pretty much his whole life, but it was always pretty manageable, something that was just something we had to deal with. And we would go to the doctor visits, but it wasn't something we really worried about a whole lot. And that is until the end of 2016, and his epilepsy went from being well controlled to really actually out of control, and it got pretty scary there for a while. And I wasn't coping well with the anxiety of it. And part of that was because we had been so busy, and it went from I'm in the car all the time, busy, to we had to stop everything because he had no energy because he was seizing so often. We had so many doctor's appointments. He was on so much more medication. He could not handle going and doing the activities that he had done before. And it also meant that we couldn't leave him alone for a second. So if I wanted to go take a walk, somebody had to be home. So I was going a little stir crazy. I remember one day just kind of talking to him, and I was talking to him about his seizures and like, how are you feeling? I was constantly asking him, how are you feeling? Are you feeling okay? Do you feel like you're going to have a seizure? And one day, and he's my kid that's extremely compliant. He's so happy. He's always just down to have fun. And he looked at me and he said, Mom, just stop it. Just please stop. And I realized I'm not making things better for him. I'm making things worse. So I realized I need a hobby. I need a hobby today.
Mom's got to think of something else to do.
Mom's got to think of something else. And so, of course, I went on Pinterest, and I'm scrolling Pinterest, and I see this beautiful granny square blanket. And it stopped me in my tracks. And I thought, oh, this is what I'm going to do. And I bought the pattern. I got on YouTube that night, and I was like, I am going to learn how to do this. I don't care what it takes.
You didn't crochet or knit before this?
My grandmother had shown me how to crochet, like when I was a kid, but I had not picked up a crochet hook in 35 years. I had like one of those chains when I was a kid that was 16 feet long,
Yeah.
But yeah, no, I didn't.
Yeah.
I had so much time on my hands. I mean, I had all the time in the world. So yeah, I dove head in. Yeah. I just dove right in and just have been doing it ever since.
Hours a day, every day, ever since?
Yes. Well, I ended up getting some pretty severe tendonitis from doing that. So now, I've backed off, and I don't do marathon sessions anymore. But yes, I still do crochet or knit pretty much every single day.
Wow.
Yeah.
So tell me about your blog name. Your Petit Saint Crochet, correct?
Yes. That is for my favorite saint, who her name is Saint Therese of Lisieux, and she had a saying that do small things with great love. And what I love about that is that not all of us are called to do big things in life. Some of us are called just to do the small things, but we can do those small things with the greatest of love. And that's what I wanted to do with my own crocheting and knitting was, this is just a small little toy. It might be a little bunny rabbit, but I can make it with the greatest of love. And that makes it special, and that makes it important. It's not the biggest thing in the whole world, but it's something that I can do, to make somebody's day a little bit better, or bring a smile on Instagram, or.
Well, if somebody gives me a gift like that, I know they care. Like, you can go spend, it's easy to go spend $50 at Target, but they spent hours,
Yeah.
A friend of mine also said she loves knitting and crochet because if she and her husband are watching a TV show or something at night, we're so fast-paced and distracted these days that most people watch TV and scroll their phone at the same time.
Mm-hmm.
And she's like, this just keeps me from doing that.
Right. Oh yeah. That's what I do.
Yeah.
Every night we sit down, and if we're watching TV or something, I just grab my stuff and I can just sit there, and I never know what the characters look like. I can hear their voices, but I don't see them because my head is down. I'm looking at my work. So
yeah, that sounds like my speed, because I'm very like, I want to be doing more than just sitting there.
Oh, I cannot just sit there and watch that. I can't do it.
Yeah. I like the idea of having a project and to bring, there's just random times where you end up in a place where you could work on something.
Right. Well, and actually I read about this when I was doing a blog post or something about how in Victorian times, doctors used to prescribe knitting to women who had like anxiety, because they knew that there was something about that repetitive motion, kind of mindless knitting, mindless doing something with your hands that just kind of helps the brain to calm down. And scientists now know that there really is something sort of therapeutic about that repetitive motion, just doing something sort of mindless. So I really believe in the powers of crocheting and knitting just to kind of help us calm down. And I'm so thankful I've had it during this whole pandemic. It's just kind of helped me feel grounded and just a little more sane, I think.
Yeah, you can just still put so much effort into something. Now, some of your things don't look as mindless. Like, I've made hats and scarves, and probably once you get the hang of it, I've never made
Yeah.
anything like what you're showing, but they're so adorable.
And I make the same patterns over and over, so they kind of end up becoming pretty mindless just
Okay.
because I'm so familiar with the patterns. I
Yes,
know exactly
yes.
what's coming next. So, yeah, the first time is always my learning time. That's when I
Mhm.
have to
To
struggle through
concentrate.
things,
Yeah.
but yeah, after you do it a few times, it can
Yeah.
be.
I have some sewing patterns like that I've made so many times. It would just be, I could put on a podcast and not even be
Yeah.
thinking about it and do it. I'm
Yes.
not that comfortable with knitting and crochet. Actually, I don't know how to crochet at all. I only know how to knit. And even knitting, I've only knitted like hats and easy stuff.
Yeah. Yeah.
But they're also so beautiful.
Thank you.
So anything else on the topic of stress relief as far as the hobby and how it's helped you to?
Well, I mean, for example, we are going into, my son is actually going to have a hospital stay. It's going to be 7 to 10 days, and the hospital's 2 hours away from us. And because of COVID rules, one parent has to go in with him. And once you go in, you're not leaving. So I'm going to be
Oh,
in a
wow.
hospital room with him for 7 to 10 days. And I'm already thinking in my mind, how much yarn can I bring? Like,
Right.
how am
Is
I going to pack
yeah.
it all?
Because if you don't bring
So,
enough, you're not getting any
yeah.
more.
Well, and that's the beauty for me of something like a hand project like that. I can bring these things with me. So whether we're going to be in the hospital or we're going to a doctor's appointment where you sit in the doctor's waiting room for, 30 minutes, I can knock out a good amount of work in that time.
Right.
And I can sit there and I don't have to be on my phone, which can make me feel more anxious. And
Oh
I
my
don't really
goodness,
want to
yes.
read the news of the world. I would
No.
rather be looking at beautiful yarn.
Uh-huh.
And so I really feel like that's one of the beauties I think of crocheting and knitting is it's portable. You can
Right.
just throw it in
Yeah,
a
that's
bag and take
very
it with you.
true. Very true. Do you ever
Yeah.
find yourself sitting in the passenger seat of the car knitting and
Yeah.
crocheting?
Oh, yes. Oh, I don't go anywhere without something to work on because I don't want to get stuck just sitting there going, oh, I could be making something right now.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
All you need is a little bag and whatever project you're working on.
Exactly.
So, okay, another thing. You learned how to do this midlife. You weren't really a knitter or
Yeah.
crocheter before. Have you always been
Right.
crafty and inclined to, obviously, somewhat?
I wasn't. I was a serial quitter. I always wanted to be crafty and I would pick up something, and the minute it would get hard, I would quit. And I would think, well, I'm just not cut out for this. I can't do this. But I think because of the situation and when I began crocheting, it kind of forced me to say, listen, you got to figure this out. You got to push past the beginning stages and learning things because the learning curve was pretty steep for me.
Hmm.
But I think that that's kind of taught me that I can learn new things even in, my middle age. I think a lot of people think of handcrafts and like sewing and cooking and crocheting and knitting as, well, you are either good at it or you're bad at it.
Oh, I
And I think,
100% believe that. Yes.
yeah, and I'm just
I mean,
like,
I don't believe that. I believe
right,
that people say
right,
that.
right.
Yeah.
Yeah, they say that and they think, well, you have talent. And I say, it's not talent, it's a skill. It's a learned skill. You just
Right.
learn how to do it. None of us come out of the womb knowing how to knit a sweater. It's just not how
No.
it works.
There are
Eh,
some talents for sure in life, but
Yes.
those aren't them. Like, I don't consider myself talented at anything, honestly.
Right.
I
I know.
just,
Yeah, that's how
yeah, I
I
have a
feel.
lot of skills at this point,
Yeah.
but
Right, exactly. I think of somebody who can sing beautifully. That's
right.
a talent.
That's a talent.
That's a God-given talent. You
Hmm.
were born with that. And then you develop the skills with it.
Yes, yes.
Yeah, but I do not believe that crocheting and knitting in any way is a talent. It's a skill, it's a learned skill, and I really think it's just the desire to want to learn it. If
Yeah.
you have two
Yes.
hands that work and you are willing to put in the time, most anybody could learn how to do it. You might not enjoy it, but if you are interested in it, there's no reason why you couldn't do it.
Yes. And that's sometimes you have to find some kind of reason to be motivated to be interested in something. Like
Yes.
for you, it
Mhm.
was this, you were stressed, your son was having medical issues and you
Right.
needed it. I feel like that with
Yes.
blogging too, because you're also a blogger and
Yes.
that's a learning curve. It's quite the learning
Oh.
curve.
Oh, yes it
But
is.
unless there's some driving force behind why you actually want
Mhm.
to do that, you
Yes.
probably won't get anywhere with it. But if you
Right.
do have a driving force, you don't have to be a tech person. You don't have to have any
Oh,
special skills.
right. I 100% believe that, because so during this time of the stress and everything with our son, I was also coming to the end of our homeschooling journey. I was getting ready to graduate my two last kids, and I kept thinking, what is my next chapter going to look like? I don't know what I'm going to do. My husband's job, he travels a great deal for his job, so he's not home a lot. So I still needed something where I was going to be able to be at home for just my son who was still at home. But I was kind of looking at what's the next step. And your course came out right during that time. It was
Oh,
like,
perfect.
oh, this is, it was really wonderful timing for me. But you're right, like the tech stuff, it is the same thing. It's just a learned skill. You start at the basics and then you keep building
Yeah.
those skills. And
Right.
it's like YouTube. YouTube's the same thing. It's
Yeah.
not something we're born knowing how to do.
Right. Right.
And I think, as a middle-aged woman, it can be very intimidating, the tech stuff, because you think of blogging and YouTube for young people, and I am the most tech challenged person out there. And so I feel like if I can learn how to do this,
Yeah, you've
anybody can learn
accomplished a
how to do
lot.
this.
I mean, same though, because I always tell people when they say that to me, because I am about 10 years younger, that we also didn't really grow up
Right,
with as much technology as you think. We really didn't. We didn't
right,
have Facebook until college. I didn't grow up
right.
with it either, really. But yeah, it all still is, it's difficult, but once you just build on those skills and you have a desire to learn something. But I do think people think I'm not a knitter. I'm
Right.
not a sewer. My people come
Mm-hmm.
to my mom all the time because she sewed my sister's junior bridesmaid dress for our
Oh, wow.
wedding. She's used to sew all of her Halloween costumes. She can
Wow.
sew anything.
Yeah.
And so they always come to her like, well, you're so talented. She's like, I am not talented. I just practice. You could hem jeans too.
Exactly. Yes. And that's what I tell people, like they will come to my Instagram or YouTube and just say, "Oh, I wish my toys looked like yours," but I always, and I've heard this before and I may have even heard it on your podcast, don't compare your starting point to somebody else's middle.
Right,
And I
right.
actually like to show people my very first toy that I made. It is not cute. It's
So
not
what is
cute at
it?
all.
I'm
It's a
curious
little
now.
bunny, and I can't find it. I don't know
Oh,
if my cat took it. I
I'm
don't
sure it's
know, but
probably on your
um
Instagram somewhere, right?
it is on my Instagram, and I've left it on purpose because I want people to see that no, you don't start off making them great. It really does take practice. It just take, and it's that willingness to say, okay, it's not going to look great. Okay, get over it. Your first
Right.
one's not going to
Yes.
look great, and that's okay. It doesn't have to, but you're learning, and your second one will be better. That's why I remake patterns over and over, because they just get better. And I
Right.
learn new techniques and better things, rather than you stop at the first one. Yeah, none of them look good.
No, when I think back to my first sewing projects, because I sewed a lot as a kid, just, little things. I didn't really know what I was doing, but I really developed a love for sewing when I had my first daughter, because again, something motivated me. Cute little
Yeah.
girl clothes motivated me.
Yeah,
And
right,
I didn't really have the money to buy, like boutique things. So I was like, I'm going to figure
right,
this out. The first lots of projects were probably laughable now. I'm sure I was proud of myself at the time,
right.
but for doing something that even sort of went
Yeah,
on right.
right, yeah,
But I get that same thing a lot from people who they're really afraid to fail. They're afraid to even try
yes.
it.
Mhm.
And,
And that's one thing that I actually like to do, with the blog YouTube channel, is actually I show people, look, because they see a photo and they think, oh, that toy is perfect, and I'm like, no, 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 look here, you can see here where I didn't do this correctly. Or, and I say, it doesn't matter. It really doesn't matter. Those little mistakes don't really matter, and it's okay. It's okay. You can look at something and think, oh, it's so perfect, it's so beautiful, but really it's not perfect, and it's okay. And I'm okay with that, and I'll get better. And those mistakes, I learned so much from every single mistake as well. And that's the point for me. That's the most important, is that ability to learn and
yeah,
the ability to gain those skills. And that has actually spilled over into so many other areas of my life now, because I've taught myself that when it gets hard, you can push through, you can learn new things.
yeah,
So
you've built a
that's
certain
exciting.
level of confidence in yourself
Yeah,
by
right,
seeing what you could accomplish, even though you were in your 40s and you didn't know how to crochet,
right.
didn't think that you were a crafty person.
Right. I
I
know. I
think
still think about it like am I crafty?
Is
Maybe
that,
I am crafty
does
now.
this qualify? I know.
I know. I don't know.
My sister and I talk about that all the time because she's put herself in that category her entire life. She's not crafty. She doesn't do anything creative. And now it's my sister Laura that has
Okay. Yeah.
in the blog course, Our Early House. She takes these beautiful pictures. Everything looks amazing.
Yeah.
She wouldn't have believed that was the same person 2 years ago. She would have never
Right.
thought, like, I'm not a
Yes.
photographer. I don't
Right.
do styling. I don't do anything creative. I'm not that type of person. I feel like we do that to ourselves. I do that with organization. I'm not
Yes.
organized. I'm just not.
Right.
I'm not that kind of person. It's like, well,
Right.
actually, when I have to be, I really can.
It's exactly, I feel the exact same way. Like I'm throwing just for our family, but my daughter and I, who's 23, we're going to have a Thanksgiving party for just our family, our immediate family. But it is just like, we're not party people, but by golly, I'm going to learn it. We're going to learn how to be party people.
Right. Yep. I've totally done the same types of things where I'm like, we've said we wanted to buy this place so we could have friends over and,
Right.
and then like, wait a minute, but we're not the entertaining type. Well, we better learn how,
We're going to learn how.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah. We need to not tell ourselves what we are sometimes. You can start to develop that at a really young age where maybe somebody says something that makes you think, yeah, this is who I am. And then even if the evidence of your life doesn't suggest that, you still just always believe it.
Right. And I think it's listening to those little stirrings inside. If you see something, like if you're looking at your channel and you're like, oh, that sewing looks so fun, but that's not for me. That's maybe a little stirring to, hey, maybe you should investigate it a little bit.
Yeah,
maybe learn a little bit about it. Just start at the very beginnings. You can learn new things. Like I've learned photography. Never thought that I would be interested in photography. I love it now.
All of your photography on your Instagram is so adorable.
It's so much fun. And it's opened, it's almost like that Pandora's box, but in a good way.
Yeah.
But opening kind of that creative part of myself has really spilled over into so many other things in my life. And I feel like I really almost regret that when my kids were younger, I didn't explore those things because I kind of bought into this idea that to be a good mom, you gave everything to your kids. You gave everything to them and you had nothing left over because that was selfish to do something for yourself or something that you enjoyed.
Yeah.
And I look back now and I'm like, boy, you know what? That wasn't really, I think I would have been a better mom if I had allowed myself to explore those things and done some of those things that I was interested in, not just for the kids. I really do think I would have been a better mom. And it would have been a good thing for my kids to see, oh, mom can do this. Mom can learn new things.
But they're seeing that now,
They are seeing it now.
Yeah.
Probably too much. And they're like, Mom, just stop talking about your toys.
That's so funny. But yeah, I mean, I do think moms do have a lot of that guilt that if they work on something other than, I get that question all the time. How do you not feel guilty? I'm like, well, I work on these things when, like right now it's nap time. I plan things for nap time. And I'm not going to feel guilty about pursuing something that, as long as you're
you're setting a good example for your kids. You're showing that you can have a family life and you can have a work life and you can do things you're interested in. And I think that's so important for kids to see. And I honestly feel like, especially with the blogging and the YouTube community, there are so many new opportunities and so many new ways to make a living and to make money that were not available 10 years ago.
Well, yeah, and you can still be focused on home, because that's the thing. I never wanted to be outside of the home. I always wanted to raise my children, but
and that's how I feel like even as I'm going forward, I still have to be home for our son because he cannot drive because of his epilepsy. He still needs somebody home. My husband still travels a lot. So this enables me to kind of pursue what I want to pursue and to build a little business for myself, but still being completely at home. I do it every day in my pajamas, except on filming days. I actually have to get dressed, put some makeup on. But I think it's actually a really exciting time. Really exciting time.
It really is. Yeah. There's never been a time where you could do stuff like this. Yeah. It's important to look at some of the positive. I definitely get a little bogged down, especially lately with all of the negative.
Oh, yes. It's hard. It's hard. And that's another reason why I really love things like crocheting and knitting is that it does get you away from the phone. The phone is such an issue, I think, for a
Yeah.
lot of us. And social media can be a toxic place in some
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
places. I have found, honestly, the crocheting and knitting community are pretty positive, supportive people. Not to say that it's not there too, but I do feel like this is a positive thing for my life, not just because I enjoy doing it, but the whole community are people who lift each other up. We all love yarn. I mean,
Yeah.
there's nothing negative about
There's
that, you know?
no controversy there, is there?
Well, you would think
Oh,
there's not, but
great.
there are,
Right,
we
right,
won't go
right.
there.
Yeah.
But yeah, but it's still something that it's a positive thing, and it's wonderful to be able to connect with people literally all over the world who
Yeah.
are just as obsessed with the minutia of crocheting and knitting. It's
Uh-huh.
wonderful.
Yeah. For every interest somebody has, there is that group.
Yes,
And you can find them now.
I went on Instagram when I first kind of got more interested in crocheting and thought, I'm going to start like a little crochet Instagram account. I wonder if there are any other people that are into crocheting. And I was like, oh, yeah, and they've
This
been here
party's
way
been going
longer.
on for a while.
Yeah, I'm here kind of late.
That's how I
Yeah.
felt when I started blogging. I was like, oh yeah, I'm gonna start a blog. I'm so unique. And it's like, oh wait, no.
Right.
Yeah. So tell me some of your favorite projects you've ever done.
Okay. Well, I just finished Frog and Toad from the children's books Frog and Toad.
Okay.
And I just love cute little projects that are, I love children's books. I've always loved children's literature because of, just as a homeschooler, we read
Yeah,
so
you've
many great
been
books.
exposed to a lot of it. Yeah.
Yeah. And this one, there were some steep learning curves with these guys as well. But I still love granny square projects.
Okay, I don't really know what that means.
Oh, well, these are granny squares.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, these
Yes. Oh,
are
those
granny
are
squares.
so cute.
Yeah, they're just beautiful, and these are really mindless to make. These are really fun to make.
Those are
I'm
pretty for farmhouse, just putting those everywhere.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. They're just beautiful. I've actually got a granny square blanket for toys coming out soon, a little pattern, just because
Oh,
toys need granny square blankets too. I finally made myself a shawl with some hand-dyed wool that I got at the beach last summer. I love all kinds of different projects. I really do.
yeah, yeah. So you have toys and so many beautiful things. I definitely going to check out those granny square ones. So tell us
Oh, yeah.
everything that you have to offer. We mentioned your YouTube channel that I will link down in
Yeah.
the show notes. Also, if you just go on YouTube and search Le Petite,
Yes.
yeah,
Hmm.
Saint Crochet.
Yeah. I say it the American way, and every once in a while I'll have somebody who speaks French that says you're butchering it. That's
Okay,
not how
so
you say
I
it. And I'm
saw
like,
you put that in the group.
no.
How are you supposed to say it? How do you say it?
Well, I think the French pronunciation is actually Le Petit Saint. But how is
Oh,
anybody ever going to find that?
Le Petit Saint.
Yeah, nobody's ever going to find that. So I say it the American way so people can spell it, because
Yeah,
most of
Le
us can spell
Petite Saint.
Le Petit Saint Crochet.
That's how I'm gonna say it.
That's how I say it. And sometimes I get
Yeah.
criticized, but it's just the way it is.
Yeah, you'll get criticized no matter what you do.
Exactly, right? And I actually became a certified crochet instructor through the Craft Yarn Council through all of this, because I really wanted to share that love of crafting with others. So that's why I feel confident being able to share some techniques with people, because I actually learned how to do it. Yeah. And so I just, every week I share a video. I follow your example. I have the blog post and I make the video for the blog post. It's the best way to do it, in my opinion.
Yeah.
And I only do once a week just because
Yeah.
that's what I knew I could commit to. But it's been wonderful. I love it so very much.
Yeah, you do I can tell you love it by all that you do. Also, I saw that you have, so your Instagram is Le Petit Saint Crochet.
Yes.
And then you have links to your YouTube, your blog, your Etsy shop. Everything. So
yeah.
Cool. Great. Well, thank you so much. This has been a great discussion. I hope that we inspire some people to pick up a new hobby, possibly crochet. They can follow your lead. And if you make sure to head over to her Instagram and see all that we're talking about, I'm sure people already did, because
You'd have to.
All right, thank you so much for listening to this episode of the Simple Farmhouse Life podcast. I hope that you enjoy it, and I will see you in the next one.